Hello class, welcome to topic 4, angle relationships. I forgot my headset at home, so you're going to hear some clicking every time I put the pen to the screen. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. Okay, today's topic is angle relationships. We're going to talk about all different names of angles based on the relationship in the drawing that we have. First one I want to talk about is something called complementary angles. Two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. So if you look at something like this, let's see, we have a right angle and I have it split something like this, and this is angle 1 and this is angle 2. So the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to 90 degrees. Now, example of this would be maybe this angle is 40 degrees and this angle is 50 degrees. Okay, supplementary. Supplementary, the two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. And how do I remember the difference between complementary and supplementary? Well, C is before the letter S, and 90 degrees is before 180 degrees. Complementary is 90, supplementary is 180, just by the way they go. So let's say we have a straight angle. And we split it like this. Let's say this is angle 1, this is angle 2. So the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to 180 degrees. Examples for this would be maybe this is 60 degrees and this is 120 degrees or something like that. Okay. Next are adjacent angles. The word adjacent means next to, so two angles that are next to each other. Angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent to each other. They're next to each other. That leads us to a special one called a linear pair. Not only are they adjacent to each other, but they're supplementary and they form a line. So this example that we did before is definitely an example of a linear pair. Angle 1 and angle 2 were next to each other and they formed a straight angle or a straight line. Or we could do another example. Must form a straight angle. Supplementary angles do not have to be next to each other. They're just two angles who add up to 180. But a linear pair have to be next to each other, adjacent, and supplementary. And finally, the last one, the big one, vertical angles. Vertical not meaning they're up and down, just that they share a vertex, or they're across from each other from a vertex. So I have this picture here. I have angles 1, 2, 3, 4. Vertical angles are always congruent. That means in this example, angle 1 is congruent to angle, well, across from it is angle 3, and angle 2 is congruent, and across from it is angle 4. That means the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 3 are equal, and the measure of angle 2 and the measure of angle 4 are equal to each other. These are important because we're going to set up problems using these ideas. So let's go through some examples on checking relationships. So between angle 1 and angle 2, on problem number 1, angle 1 and angle 2, we don't have no idea what the measurements are. They're just across from each other. That means they're just vertical. For problem number 2, well, we know we have a right angle here, which means this part of the angle is 90 degrees, that means the other half is 90 degrees. And we know they're next to each other. And because 1 and 2 are on the other half of this 90 degrees, we also know that they're complementary. Number 3, we can definitely know 1 and 2 are next to each other. And since 1 and 2 are forming a line, a straight angle, we know that they are supplementary and that they're a linear pair. Number 4, all we know is that they're next to each other. We have no idea if they add up to 90 degrees or not, so we just know adjacent. Number 5, we can tell that 1 and 2 are definitely vertical. They are across from each other. But we do know that this is 90 degrees here. That means up here this is also 90 degrees. But since both these angles are equal to each other, both of these angles are equal to 45. So notice this is 45 degrees, this is 45 degrees, and this is 45 degrees. So not only they're vertical and they're congruent, together they add up to 90 degrees. That means they're complementary. And finally, we know that these angles are across from each other, makes them vertical. But because this is 90, angle 1 is also 90, angle 2 is also 90, and together they add up to 180, makes them supplementary. Okay, let's use some of these relationships to find out angle measures. Well, problem number 1, we know that these two angles are vertical. That's not good. That they're vertical, therefore x is equal to 112 degrees. Number 2, this is a right angle, so we know that x and 68 are complementary. So x plus 68 equals 90, so x equals 22 degrees. Number 3, we know that they make a straight angle. This is a linear pair. I just do LP. That means they're supplementary. That means x plus 124 degrees is equal to 180. So x equals 56 degrees. Now we have to figure x, y, z. Well, the one easiest is y, because y is vertical. So y is equal to 43 degrees. X and y make up a linear pair, means they equal 180 degrees. So x plus 43 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. So x equals 137 degrees. But x and z are vertical to each other. So z is also equal to 137 degrees. Let me change colors. Well, this one's got a little bit more complicated. The one thing I do know that y and 72 are vertical to each other. So y equals 72 degrees. X and y make a linear pair, which equal 180 degrees. So x plus 72 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. So x equals 108 degrees. And then I know on this picture that z and the 72 degrees add up to 90 because they make up a straight line. So z plus 72 degrees is equal to 90 degrees. They're complementary. So z is equal to 18 degrees. Well, the next ones we have vertical angles. What does vertical angles mean? Well, angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. And if angle 2 is 105, then the measure of angle 1 is also 105 degrees. I'm going to go down here. It says P and Q are supplementary. What does supplementary mean? And they add up to 180 degrees. So, and Q is 64. So the measure of angle P plus 64 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. So the measure of angle P is equal to 116 degrees. I'll slide this over. And then so it's complementary. What does complementary means? It means they add up to 90 degrees. And A is 42, so 42 degrees plus the measure of angle B is equal to 90 degrees. So the measure of angle B is equal to 48 degrees. And then finally is a linear pair. Linear pair means they add up to 180 degrees. Angle 1 is 113, so 113 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to 180 degrees. So the measure of angle 2 is equal to 67 degrees. So the next few pages are really just a bunch of examples. Maybe I'll set up and probably pause the video and finish out the problem, and you can see what I did. I'll write out all the algebra steps. So when I see that AB is perpendicular to CD, we have this. That means this other side is also a right angle. So these angles over here add up to 90 degrees. Okay, I finished that problem out. They were complementary. So I set them equal to 90 by adding the angles. X equals 10, and the measure of DCE was equal to 72 degrees. This next problem, my two angles that I'm dealing with make up a linear pair, which add up to 180 degrees. And I have K and M, which is 8x minus 5. And M and J, which is 4x minus 19. And when I add those two angles together to 180 degrees, I found x equals 17, and then the measure of KLM was 131 degrees. So the two angles, the one I have here in blue, the one I have here in red, they are a linear pair. They add up to 180. So I set up my equation here. I'm going to solve for x. And when I solve for x, I got x equals 16. And now I have these two angles here are vertical angles. And I can plug in x to figure out what this right angle is and set it equal here. And I found that measure GEF was 104 degrees, and I did my y equation. I got y equals 11. Complementary means add up to 90 degrees. So 12x minus 3 plus 7x minus 2 is equal to 90 degrees. And I can go ahead and solve for x. And I went through and solved for x. I got x equals 5, and I plugged that into the measure of angle R, and I got the measure of angle R is 57 degrees. Supplementary means they add up to 180. So 4x plus 1 plus 9x minus 3 is equal to 180 degrees. I went through and solved for x, and I got 14. I plugged it into the angle Q, and I get the measure of angle Q is 123 degrees. Okay, since ray UW bisects that big angle, that means the two angles I have there in orange are congruent. So 13x minus 5 is equal to 7x plus 31, and x equals 6 when you solve for x and you do your algebra. And on this problem, since ray MO bisects that angle PMN, that means the two angles in red are congruent. And that big angle PMN is equal to 74, so each of the little reds are worth 37. And that means I set up my equation, 2x plus 7 equals 37, and x equals 15. So for these next 3 pages of notes, I'm just going to set up these problems by writing on the diagram when I have to, and doing the algebra work to figure things out. So you can see I did example 1 and 2. I'm going to stop the video and do example 3. And here is example number 3. These two angles are vertical, so they are equal to each other. And on this example, it's just angle addition. So the one angle in red plus the angle in blue is equal to the big one in black. I solve for x, I got 7. I plugged in for the red, I got 38. I plugged in for the blue, I got 65. And adding these together, I get 103, but I even plugged it in the black, and I still got 103. So everything checks out. Using my algebra skills, well, first of all, complementary means they got to add up to 90 degrees, and angle K I called X, and the measure of J is 18 less than that, so X minus 18, I set it up, I got X equals 54, which is the measure of angle K, and that means angle J is equal to 36 degrees. Now for this last problem. So for this last problem, EF bisects CEB, and I set up that these two angles are equal to each other. The one's in black, I got X equals 8. That means these two angles turn out both to be 77 degrees. They both are 77 degrees. But then when I look at this big angle from here to here, that is a straight angle. It's 180 degrees. So I have 77 plus 77 plus this measure of DEB, which I was trying to find, is equal to 180. Well, this is 154 plus the measure of angle DEB equals 180. So the measure of angle DEB is equal to 26 degrees. And those are the examples from this packet. Thank you for watching. Sorry for the clicking.